Good morning, 9th and 10th graders. As Emily mentioned, I'm the Gear Up Program Director, and
You.
I want to welcome you to our second day of College Week, and we're super excited, and I hope that you are too. And I have the pleasure and honor to introduce Mr. Hamill from Harvard University.
Thank you so much, Vivian and Emily, and thank you to all of the students and teachers and other school officials that are on the presentation today. Really happy to be here with you all. I wish it could be in person, but hopefully we might be able to do that at some point in the future once it becomes safe to do so again. I want to be pretty efficient with your time today. I know that it's starting to get towards lunchtime. People are probably starting to get a little bit hungry. So I want to try to make sure I give you all some really helpful information today about Harvard. So if you'll bear with me for just a moment, I am going to share my screen because I just have a short presentation where we will cover some different things about Harvard today. And then you also were all kind enough to submit some questions to Ms. Wall and Ms. Irgang earlier. So I will try my best to answer as many of those questions as I can in the next 20 to 25 minutes. So I'm going to share my screen now and cross my fingers that everybody can see this reasonably well. I think I also need to change to the main view. So hopefully you can all see this in the full screen now. And again, I'm really delighted to get to tell you all a little bit more about Harvard today. Harvard has been close to my heart for a very long time. I began as a student at Harvard over 10 years ago now and have been working here in admissions after graduating from Harvard as well. And this community also means a lot to me too, especially to talk with you all today, because I grew up very close to Harvard. In fact, I grew up in both Lawrence and Methuen, so in the Merrimack Valley, the same as many of you here in the audience today. So again, really delighted to talk with all of you a little bit about America's oldest college. Some of you might know that Harvard is the oldest university in the United States. We were founded in 1636, so we are almost 400 years old. But despite that age, we've got a lot of new and really exciting things happening on campus. For those of you who do not know, Harvard is located in Cambridge, Massachusetts. So it's just outside of Boston. It's approximately, I would say, about a 40 to 45-minute drive from Lawrence, from the Merrimack Valley, depending on traffic, of course. Sometimes it might be a little longer. But as someone who still tries to go home to see my parents on some weekends for a home-cooked meal and something like that, I can tell you that it's a pretty easy distance to be able to do that. But Harvard also has a really wonderful campus where you certainly feel like you are able to build your own life and kind of develop a lot of your interests and skills as a student. And that really does start with living on campus. So during normal non-pandemic times, almost every Harvard student lives in a Harvard dormitory. So Harvard students are not really commuting back and forth the way that some students at other universities are doing. Again, most students live in Harvard dormitories for all 4 years that they're students at Harvard, and Harvard actually guarantees housing for all 4 years. So because of that, they really do begin to develop these communities and friendships through their experience living in the dormitories with fellow students. Students will live in first-year only dormitories during their first year on campus. And then for their last 3 years, they will move into different dormitories where they will live with students from other classes. So sophomores living with juniors and seniors. And then as they progress through the houses, different sort of class groupings as well. So what this means is that students get the chance to learn from and with one another, not just in the classrooms, which we'll talk about in a second, but also outside of the classrooms as well. Harvard has students from all over the United States, from all over the world, and we really feel like the education that students receive outside of the classroom in many ways is as important and valuable as the one you actually get in the classroom here at Harvard. So what that means in practice is that you can see a nice picture of Annenberg Dining Hall on the bottom right of your screen there. That's where all the first year students will eat all of their meals. Harvard students get a meal plan, and most students will eat all of their meals in Harvard dining halls. So It's all you can eat. I was very tall, still am very tall, so I always ate a lot in college. I can tell you that the food is really good at Harvard. And I think that's something that a lot of students will agree with as well. So just some of those practical things, but also some of those fun things too. You can see that there's a ton of dormitory spirit at Harvard. That picture in the top left of your screen is students welcoming new students to their dormitories on what's called Housing Day at Harvard. So again, it's a really special time and a really great place where students can begin to develop what we hope are going to be homes away from home for them for their time at Harvard and beyond that as well. Okay, so that's life outside the classroom. Life in the classroom is obviously really important too, right? And so we want students to get a great education at Harvard. What does that mean? Well, students are going at Harvard to learn a lot about one subject and a little bit about many different subjects, because Harvard is what's called a liberal arts university. So I know that many of you are in 9th and 10th grade right now. Maybe you haven't done as much research on college yet, and that's okay. You've got plenty of time to figure these things out over the next couple of years. But if you hear the term liberal arts, sometimes we as college officials don't always do a great job of defining what that means. And what I think it means is that, again, students learn a lot about one subject and they learn a little bit about many other subjects. So at Harvard, students are going to focus. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard the term major. Harvard has a fancy word for a major. It's called concentration. Harvard likes to have fancy words for things. I'm honestly not sure where the term came from, but when you hear concentration at Harvard, that just means a major. Some of the most popular concentrations at Harvard are really kind of wide ranging. So many students will focus in the sciences, those who want to go on and become doctors or nurses or some other kind of career in health, whether it's private or public health. Many students will choose to concentrate in one of the sciences. So whether it's neuroscience for those interested in the brain, some other forms, molecular and cellular biology, physics, chemistry, all of those different science subjects are very popular. But the social sciences and the humanities are very popular as well. So some students might choose to study economics if they want to learn more about kind of economy and how the world's various economies, the US economy works. All of those kinds of subjects are very popular. And one that has been increasingly popular in recent years is engineering and applied sciences. So when we say applied sciences, we're using terms like computer science. That's one that's been very popular in recent years at Harvard. And then other areas like applied mathematics. So again, the ways to use these different forms of sciences, applying them to fields, right? Because what we want students to do is have a set of skills that they can use in a lot of different careers after they graduate from Harvard. We are not trying to create students to do only one job in their lives, right? We know that especially in this fast changing, fast moving world, jobs are going to change. It's very likely that your jobs are going to change very quickly over your careers. It's likely that you're going to have different kinds of careers and different kinds of jobs and do different things. So we feel like giving students that broad base of education where they're getting lots of different skills is going to be really helpful to them as they prepare to work in potentially many different kinds of careers and fields. I'll give you one example of myself. I actually never took a class on college admissions when I was a student at Harvard, right? In fact, I'm actually not sure that Harvard even offers a class specifically on college admissions, right? And yet, a lot of the skills that I learned as a student at Harvard are skills that I was and am able to use in my current profession, even though I didn't really have any formal training for it as an undergraduate student at Harvard. And so that's the kind of preparation we're trying to give students, is skills to ask questions, be curious, learn fast, be able to work and collaborate positively and productively with other people. All of those kinds of things are the atmosphere that we're trying to create at Harvard. And then life outside of the classroom, people stay really busy at Harvard too. So if you like to have fun, like different kinds of activities and staying active and busy outside of your homework and your classroom experience, Harvard's a great place for things like that. Lots of different ways to do that, whether you're interested in sports, music, arts, community service. many students will actually work part-time during their experience at Harvard. And so there's lots of different part-time jobs that students can have while they are working and while they're studying to get their degree at Harvard, and many more as well. A variety of religious and faith-based groups, ethnic groups, and more are all really vibrant parts of the Harvard community. So again, we look for students who are passionate about life in the classroom and also life outside of the classroom as well, because Harvard's a great place to kind of pursue both of those avenues if that's something you're interested in. Okay, so now I get to the part that most of you probably really want to hear about, right? Which is, all right, how do I get in? Right? That's what everybody talks about. That's what everyone's focused on, right? And again, it's early, okay? Most of you are in 9th and 10th grade, so you don't need to focus too much on this stuff right now, but I will try to give you some helpful pointers in terms of how we think about people's applications, what stands out to us, things like that when we're reviewing applications, okay? So what I like to say is this: at Harvard, in Harvard admissions, academics are most important, but everything else is often what makes the difference. Okay, so where we start is you as a student. What kinds of classes have you taken in high school, hopefully to prepare yourself for the challenges of a Harvard education, right? Harvard is not an easy place. It's a challenging place in and out of the classroom. And so we want students to be as prepared as possible for that kind of an environment. So we are looking at how students perform in their classes. We're looking at how they've challenged themselves with appropriately challenging classes at their specific school, right? We know that not every school offers the same kind of classes. We know that not every school offers variety in the rigor or the challenging nature of their classes. That's okay with us. What we want to see is that you are making the most of whatever resources you have available to you. Okay, so that does mean that you should take some challenging classes, right? It does not mean that you need to take every single hardest class possible that your school offers in order to be admitted. That's not the case. That's not the way we operate, okay? You should work with your guidance counselor. You should work with your teachers. You should talk with your family about what kinds of classes make the most sense for you, given how ready you are for particular subjects and given your interest in a few different subjects, right? You know, maybe you're a little bit more focused on the sciences and you want to spend a little bit more time focusing your classes on the sciences. We think that's great. Maybe you're kind of a broader range student and you want to take a class in the sciences and a class in literature and a class in economics. We think that's great too. Again, there's no bad choices when it comes to choices like that, okay? So as 9th and 10th graders, what can you do right now? You can work hard in school and you can take some good, solid classes that will, again, hopefully help set you up for those more advanced level classes that you might be taking in your 11th and 12th grade, because those are then in turn the classes that will really help prepare you as strongly as possible, not just for a college education, but hopefully for an education at a place like Harvard too. So again, academics are most important, right? But as I said, everything else is often what makes the difference, because when we are reviewing applications, most often the question we are asking is not so much what's this person's GPA and, you know, this person's just a few places different in class rank. So, you know, what does that mean? We're not so much focused on that, okay? Our most important question in our academic review is, can this person do the work at Harvard? And most of the time, happily, the answer is yes, okay? So what it then focuses on is what else might this person bring to their experience at Harvard, right? So that's where we start to look at those extracurriculars you can see on the screen that you've been involved in, different types of leadership that you've been able to show, different kinds of life experiences, different kinds of backgrounds, all those things that hopefully will educate the people around you. And also, hopefully you are open to being educated by those people that are going to be around you. So that's where we look at those essays, any kinds of awards you may have won, recommendations from your teachers and counselor. All those kinds of things are important because you are more than a GPA. You are more than a test score. If you even choose to submit a test score, you're human beings. We want human beings at Harvard. And so that's why we consider all of these different kinds of factors in our application review. There's no percentage or weight that we give to any one of these factors over another. There's no formula to be admitted to Harvard. Sometimes, honestly, I wish there were, because it would make the process, frankly, a lot easier. But again, we try to encompass all of these different things because we really feel like that's helping us create the strongest possible class for Harvard, right? And again, that's a really important distinction too, right? Because as you start to think about colleges in the next couple of years, you will hear the word match used a lot, or the word fit used a lot. Is someone a good match for this college? Are they a good fit for this college? And what does that mean exactly, right? Because that's really kind of hard to define, and all of those things are a little bit tricky sometimes, right? And so that's where, again, you as a student, I hate to give you more homework, but that's where you've really got to do some homework and figure out, well, do I want to go to school pretty close to home? As I said before, Harvard's, only quote unquote 40, 45 minutes away from the Merrimack Valley, right? Do you want to be that close to home for your college experience, or do you want to go a little bit further away? What size school do you want? Harvard has about 6,700 undergraduate students. Some schools have far fewer than that. Some schools have far more students than that, right? What kind of campus size and experience might you like out of your own personal college experience, right? What do you want to study, right? We like to think we have everything at Harvard. We don't. There might not be the subject that you want to study at Harvard. And so you might actually have a better experience at another school if there's something specific that you're really interested in studying, right? We think Harvard's an awesome place, but it's not a perfect place. And more importantly, it's not the perfect place for everybody. So we very much hope that you will do some research on Harvard and think about if it might be a good match for you and your interests. But we also definitely encourage you to look at some other amazing places, whether it's similar kinds of schools to Harvard, whether it's very different kinds of schools, public universities, private universities, large, small, all of those kinds of places offer you great educations, okay? Harvard is not the only place in the world that you can get a great education. I'm here to tell you that, even though I get paid to say good things about Harvard, but I also get paid to be honest with you, right? And the truth is that Harvard's an awesome place, but you can get an awesome experience, an awesome education at lots of different places too, okay? So again, I say all that to say, what you can do now, right? What's most important to focus on really is two things. One, being a good person. That kind of gets overlooked sometimes in our process, right? People tend to get very focused, in the public on grades, and they focus on extracurriculars and their essays. And sometimes what gets overlooked is, what kind of person are you? We're looking for great people, we hope, to bring to this experience, right? We want great students, we want great people, because this is a community, right? People do not live, again, in non-pandemic times, in isolation, right? Separated from one another. People are coming together, learning from and with, collaborating with each other. And so we really hope that they'll demonstrate lots of different positive personal qualities. And of course, there's no one kind of person that we're looking for at Harvard, right? If there were only one kind of person that we were looking for, Harvard would be a really boring place, right? So again, we want that kind of range of backgrounds, perspectives, personalities, outlooks, skills, because that's going to make this a much more vibrant, interesting experience and education for the students, for the faculty, for all of the people that form this Harvard community. Again, so that's why all of these things are really important to us. And I'll try to say a little bit more about that as I wrap up in just another few minutes. But this right now is the most important thing that I have to say to you today, okay? So if you haven't been paying attention till now, that's okay, but please pay attention right now. Everybody paying attention? Okay, good. You can afford Harvard. I will say that one more time. You can afford Harvard. Okay. Harvard is very, very lucky to be able to support with financial aid every student that we admit. There is no limit to the amount of financial aid that we can give to our students. And admission to Harvard is what's called need blind. So what that means is that when you are applying to Harvard, if you need financial aid, that's not going to be held against you in the admissions process. In fact, our admissions committee often responds positively to students who have overcome obstacles in their lives, including financial obstacles, right? So please do not let money be the reason why you do not think about a place like Harvard. If you go online and if you look at the sticker price, the full cost of a Harvard education, it's easy to be really shocked, right? It's a shockingly high number. But again, most students, the majority of students, are not paying anywhere near that full cost of a Harvard education. As you can see on the screen here, the average family contribution across all of Harvard per year is just a little bit under $12,000. And about 20% of the students at Harvard are not paying anything at all to be here based on their family's financial need, okay? So Harvard and other kinds of schools like Harvard do not have what's called merit-based financial aid. So that's a really important distinction, right? At Harvard, you cannot get financial aid based on your GPA, based on your extracurricular accomplishments, your test scores, things like that. All of our financial aid is based on your individual family's financial situation, right? And whatever the difference is between that full cost of a Harvard education and how much a family can afford to pay, Harvard makes up the difference in the form of financial aid, okay? So again, please do not let money be the reason why you don't think about a place like Harvard, because once again, you can afford Harvard, okay? And again, one other little piece of homework assignment that you could do, again, optional, not required, but on the top of the screen here, you can see a link to a website, and that's to what's called Harvard's net price calculator. So this is a free, easy online tool on our website that you and your family could use to help you get a rough sense of what you might be expected to contribute if you were to come to Harvard, okay? So again, I'm focused on Harvard here because I get paid to talk about Harvard, right? But financial aid is obviously a really important thing to consider in applying to colleges these days. So that's where you really will want to work, not just with your family, but you'll want to work with your guidance counselors and with your teachers, because they're going to be really helpful to you in navigating the financial aid process as well, right? There's all kinds of scholarships, opportunities, different sorts of factors and things that students can use to help make a college education affordable. As I said before, many students choose to work part-time in college to help pay. And that's certainly something that students can and often do at Harvard as well. So lots of different opportunities, different ways to help pay for college. Please don't let money be the reason why you don't think about Harvard. Again, I was talking about fit before. If you don't think you want to live in Cambridge, if you don't think you want to go to college where it snows, I have bad news for you. It still snows at Harvard in the winter. So Harvard might not be the place that you want to go to, right? But again, please don't let money be a reason why you don't think about it, because you can afford Harvard. Okay, so right now it's about 11:26, and I think that I just want to wrap up again with one or two more brief closing general points. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of you for making the time to be here today. This has been an incredibly difficult year for everybody. Certainly, I would argue perhaps the most challenging for students like yourselves, given the experiences that you have had to go through with learning remotely, learning in person, learning hybrid, all of these kinds of precautions we've had to take. It's been a really challenging year. So you should give yourselves a ton of credit for the way that you have persevered. And frankly, the fact that you're paying attention to this presentation right now is just a fantastic investment in your future, right? So I hope that you will enjoy your lunch and enjoy that time to relax a little bit, because I think that you've all earned it this morning, okay? So again, a couple of quick takeaways. What can you do right now? 9th and 10th grade, be a good person. start right there. Treat other people kindly, treat other people with respect. Again, that sometimes gets overlooked in the admissions, the application process, but it's really, really important for us. Okay, so start there. Next step, work hard in school. Do the best you can. Challenge yourself, again, working with your teachers and your counselor to figure out what are the right classes for me to be taking, and do as well as you can in them. Work hard in school, do as well as you can in those classes. And in terms of your pursuits outside of class, the only thing that I would say there is do what you can do with what you have where you are. Okay, so for some students, that might mean those traditional extracurricular activities, right? That might mean something like sports, arts, music, community service. We love all that stuff. We think it's all great. We don't have a preference for one over the other. But we also know that many students are not going to have the chance to do those these days, right? Whether it's because of the pandemic or whether it's because of other factors, right? Maybe you as a student will have to take a part-time job, to help support your family. Maybe you have to go home right after school and help look after a younger sibling because your parents are working a lot. And that means that you, the high school student, don't have the same time to do those activities, those extracurriculars that other students do. We think that's great too, okay? And when it comes time to apply, if you're comfortable, we would encourage you to share more information about those kinds of activities that sometimes people think that as applicants, they shouldn't report because they think that doesn't count. Let me tell you, it counts, okay? So again, do what you can with what you have, where you are, and that's all we can ask of anybody. So that's all for me. I am happy to answer any questions. Please definitely get in touch with us. You can easily find our contact information through Harvard's website. If you Google Harvard admissions, they'll take you right to all of our contact information. I want to say thanks to everybody very much for being here today, and turn it back over to Emily and Vivian for a formal closing. Thanks again so much, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining College Week Day 2. And thank you, Mr. Hamill, for that wonderful presentation of Harvard. I know our students and staff really enjoyed it. We look forward to our next session on Thursday. Thank you again, and I hope everybody has a great day.